Good morning, good evening, viewers across the globe. We are privileged again to have another Sunday. It's not another Sunday, but it's a very special Sunday, especially for Christians across the globe, as they celebrate Easter holiday. From KDRTV studios, we wish you a happy holiday, or Easter holiday. It's our responsibility as patriotic Kenyans, but also our civic duty, to inform our viewers on matters politics, health, education, their freedom, and how to access justice as enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution 2010. Please follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so right now by clicking the link below to ensure you are not left behind. By doing so, you can ask questions and write comments which are automatically populated or uploaded on our feeds, and you can have a chance for your question to be answered by our guests. Our mode of engagement is basically based on questions and reviews we receive from our dedicated viewers across the globe. Today in the studio, we have Dr. Ndii, a distinguished scholar in economics, and because it's his first interview or first show, allow me to read his bio so that our viewers who might not know him can really understand the kind of guest we are bringing you today. Dr. Ndii has a doctorate and master's degree in economics from the University of Oxford, and master's and bachelor's degrees from the University of Nairobi, and is a Rhodes Scholar, United Kingdom, and Eisenhower Fellow, USA. Dr. Ndii is the founder and managing director of the Institute of Economic Affairs and one of East Africa's leading and most influential independent economists, and also the chairman of the board of Zimele, an asset management company limited licensed by the Retirement Benefits Authority to provide pension scheme, fund management services, and also licensed by the Capital Markets Authority as a fund manager and investment advisor. He has extensive experience in economic policy, which includes economic advisor to the government of Rwanda, a public finance expert to the Kenyan Constitutional Review Committee of Experts, advising the NAC administration on the economic recovery strategy, credited with the post-2003 recovery of the Kenyan economy. He also consults for international development institutions and advises leading corporations East and Central Africa. He is a co-founder of the Institute of African Affairs, Kenya's first independent policy think tank. He has engaged the civil society, government officials, family, friends, farmers, students, both young and old, and anybody who comes across, or anybody who he actually comes, he has close contacts with. He is a man who loves his close and extended family. And today, we are delighted and thankful for his sister who lives in Virginia, USA, Sister Mary. Thank you, Mary, for facilitating this interview. If you like to have a guest in our interview or in our shows, please contact us, and then we'll definitely bring him forward so that he can tell Kenyans, he can tell the world what he has in store for them. Now let me bring in Dr. Ndii. Hello, good evening, Dr. Ndii.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Ndii. Here is good morning. Yeah, in Kenya it's good evening. That's perfectly okay that way.
It's evening. It's 7 p.m. now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii.
And I guess people across the world at different time zones.
Oh sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. We hope that you are doing pretty fine, Dr. Ndii. You are health-wise, you are pretty okay.
We're good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I hope, yes, I hope you also celebrated Easter. You went to church today, or what did you do today?
Yes, we had a big Easter service out in Yambu.
Okay.
But was rushing back for this interview.
Okay.
A big service which was praying for the country and elections and all sorts of things, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. Okay. We are going to have a conversation with you, Dr. today, and we want to make it as simple as possible for Kenyans across all the boards of life, across all the walks of life, so that they can actually understand a little bit better about what we're actually going to discuss. Maybe later on, we'll definitely have to raise it a little bit into an intellectual capacity sometime later, but today we want to make it as simple as possible. So things like the bottoms up and all that will come in so that you can a little bit elaborate, but not so deep. Yep, Dr. Ali? Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Welcome. Dr. Ndii, our first question. You've been in the opposition corridors for fighting for good governance and fair, equitable distribution of resources. And any step you make or any information you churn or you share out there has a lot of weight to the Kenyan people. They've known you as a brilliant economist in economic policy, and you used to be a staunch supporter of the Azimio presidential candidate, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. What made you stop supporting him?
Let me say I have never been a strong supporter of let me say I joined his I supported him in 2017, and the first time that I did that. And I have been in this political space for 30 years, all the way from 1982 when I was in the sort of just young Turks, the youth of the young Turks that in the foundation of Ford. I was then a young economist in the World Bank, and when the multi-party thing came, so we just come of age, and we actually got very active people, made very good friends with people like Professor Nyango, with who we co-founded the Institute of Economic Affairs, which you just mentioned, and Paul Muite, and people like that, and Robert Shaw and others. Raila left us very early, because we were, when Ford split, we ended up with Ford K, and most of the other progressives. Then there was a fight in Ford K. I don't know if people know that history. And Raila left Ford K. Fight between him and Wamalwa for leadership. And our paths with Raila did not cross until the 2013 general election, and after the 2013 elections. So there is a bit of misunderstanding. In fact, I had never sat with him to discuss anything other than sort of meeting socially until around 2014. Having said that, the reason why we supported him is that in 2013, after the election, it became clear to myself and other sort of progressive people of my generation, who we had been together in these trenches for a very long time, fought for the new constitution, that in fact the gains we had made were under threat. And we foresaw that if we did not have a strong progressive platform in 2017, the then Jubilee was going to steamroll the opposition and probably roll back, not just democracy, but also the new constitution. And it is that conversation which in fact led us to the conclusion that we needed a big united opposition like we had in 2003. And that is the process that produced Raila as the candidate for united opposition NASA in 2017. So my involvement in that process is a video of our launch of the search for united opposition in Bomas, and I spoke. I think that was the first time I made a public speech in Kenya, and it was really clear that really this was a situation which required people to put, it was an existential crisis. And in that regard, we saw Raila as an agent of necessity, quite frankly. So there has been a mistaken idea that Raila and I have been sort of on the same journey for a long time. No, we haven't. I have been in opposition all my life. Progressive side. Raila joined KANU in 1997, and he only reappeared in 2003. And then there was a fallout within that. So that's actually the actual history of my politics with Raila. It's not. It was a very short engagement between him being nominated the NASA flag bearer and the handshake, when again it became quite clear that he had departed from what we were trying to do.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. Kenyans understand who or what Dr. Ndii actually stands for. First of all, from your previous engagements, you've been speaking on how Kenyan economy can be grown, how Kenyan economy can actually rebound back, and then Kenyans can really enjoy their life in their own country because of some of the policies actually you've really written out there, and most of this information is available. And one question most Kenyans are actually asking, especially our viewers, is that as they have known you as somebody who has actually agitated for proper governance, anti-corruption, and right now they have realized, or you've told the world that you're supporting William Samoei Ruto. And from some quarters, people say that William Ruto might not be very clean. So what do you say about that? Why are you supporting Dr. William Samoei Ruto?
I think one thing that I have never done in my life is personalize politics. Politics is not about personality. I look at two things, and I'm very consistent with that. I look at institutions and processes. We are since 1992, at least in my involvement, trying to develop a constitutional democracy. We started by adopting multi-party. Then we found that multi-party is not sufficient. I was in the first group of people in 1995 that met somewhere in Rumoro to say that we need to put the new constitution on the agenda. There was myself, Kivula Kipona, William Mutunga, John Munuve, other names in 1995. And you can see how long it took us to actually put the constitution on the agenda. And we did not succeed to get a new constitution until after 2010, and that's only because of the 2007 crisis. So my view of politics is that every election, our democracy is at risk. And then look at how every time we jump that hurdle of an election, we then get that much closer to the democratic transition that some of us believe is actually what the best, the only thing we're probably going to achieve in our lifetime. And our legacy is having Kenya to a democratic transition with a constitutional democracy. If you look around Africa, you will see we are one of the few remaining countries. The last man standing, literally. Many of our countries, which have taken this for granted, have regressed. You saw Tanzania take a few steps back and was only saved by the death of Magufuli, just like him. So in Africa, and not just in Africa, democracy is in retreat everywhere around the world. You're seeing what's happening in Europe, the war, Putin. So my view of politics is that that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for personalities. I'm for this personality or this personality. We joined up with William Ruto to defend the Constitution. He was one of our biggest supporters for the Linda Katiba initiative and the case that we filed in court, which has stopped BBI. So it's very principled engagement. What his other issues are? If you look at NAC, NAC was, Raila came out of KANU with all sorts of people that you would not have expected to be part of a progressive agenda. Kambodo, Dimama, Saitoti, all the people who then people looked at as, and we worked with them. We worked exceptionally well, particularly with someone like George Saitoti on education, NAC administration. So I don't personalize, and I don't pay attention to people who are looking at personalities, because my conscience is very clear what I'm doing this for. And I want people will judge in the long haul whether I stood for what I said I stood for.
Thank you, Dr. Ndii. So the question actually, which has been put forward here by one of our listeners, is that are you becoming a typical Kenyan politician who shifts alliances based on your interest or your own interest or personal interest? And somebody can actually put it forward and say maybe you are leaning towards somebody who can write you a fact check. So are you becoming a typical Kenyan politician, or you are still the progressive Ndii we've actually known for so many years?
I don't do politics for fans, so that I can have fans. So all these people who think they are my fans, I like to disappoint them and tell them I don't do it. And I don't want to be admired by anybody. I really don't care. I'm not there for the likes. I think I have just given a very comprehensive explanation as to what we are trying to do. For me, BBI was an existential crisis, and I was quite clear that we needed to build a coalition that could defeat it. I prosecuted that case with the civil society leadership. We convened a meeting at KDRTV. People like George Kigoro and Professor Makao Mutua can tell you about it, Maina Kiai, others. And I told them, look, in this BBI goes to referendum, we are going to have to build an alliance with William Ruto. You like it or not, you like him or not, we don't have the ability to defeat it on ourselves. And once, if we have to do that, we might as well ask what kind of terms of engagement would we then have to, if we have to have an alliance also for the election. I was very, very transparent about that. Again, people who are preoccupied with personalities, they jumped up and down. They went off on a tangent, doing all manner of things. I now see many of them totally conflicted, either in Azimio or either out there, not sort of they dance themselves out of the theater. I am very clear that we have been able to build a progressive platform as Kenya Kwanza. And we are building a very progressive party as UDA. What anybody thinks about William Ruto is really something I don't give a damn about. I'm not, as I said, I am not interested in personalities. I'm interested in, are we doing doing this for the right reasons? Are we doing the right thing? I am totally persuaded that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. So, in a few words or in a few sentences, tell us exactly what you think Dr. William Ruto will do to Kenyans if he becomes the next president after the 2022 general election in August.
There are three issues on the ballot in this election, and if any of you had the opportunity to listen to us when we came to the US and also went to the UK on our trip, you will have heard what our position is. There are three issues on the ballot, and fortunately, it is now very clear where we stand and where they stand. The first issue on the ballot is the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution. Are we going to implement it and be faithful to it, or are we going to change it and restore some of the things from the old order, like an imperial presidency, dilute the independence of the judiciary? Because the other side has said that reggae will be back. So the Constitution is on the ballot. You vote for them for reggae. You know, for that positions, you can see they are fighting for positions. They don't have enough positions to give, I don't know, Kalonzo, to give, I don't know, Martha, to give, I don't know who. We are very clear that our platform is about implementing the Constitution. And a lot of the safeguards in governance safeguards that Uhuru has refused to implement. Number two issue is what political system we are going to have. Are we going to have a political system based on institutions? Or are we going to go back or have a political system based on personalities? Our side, we are very clear that we want institutional politics. That's why we are building a strong political party, because we believe that the parties are a foundation for democracy, for sort of constitutional electoral democracy. On the other side, they are saying that they want unity between tribes. Therefore, you must get leaders of each of the tribes sitting at a table. So that is their model of inclusion, is one of representative inclusion. That when you see the kingpin of your tribe at the big table, you feel that community is included. And we are totally against that. We believe there is a popular school of thought even out there, which says that societies like these, which are tribalistic, or the Middle East, where they have religious divisions, that majoritarian democracy cannot work, and therefore you need these sort of things they call consociational politics. And we say absolutely not. We are going to make majoritarian democracy work in Kenya. We are the last man standing in this region, and we are determined to make it work. Number three is the economy. We have had a trickle-down economy which was established in the colonial era, which was there just to cater for the white elite and their few auxiliaries. While the Africans down there, the native economy, they just get the crumbs that trickle to them. When we took over independence, the elite occupied those positions, and that's still what we are. We are saying, are we going with a trickle-down economy? And we know in countries like these, we don't have very long to go. You've seen in Sri Lanka. Or are we going to have an inclusive bottom-up economy where we put resources where the people are? Again, that's on the ballot, and we know where we are. The other side is owners of capital. They want to protect the status quo. And we are saying the capital of the country needs to be distributed equally, everybody an opportunity, because we need to use the talents of all Kenyans.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii, for that answer. So in 2017, you blamed the IEBC for conducting what was termed as a shambolic election, and you and your team, or the NASA team, went to the Supreme Court and actually won, and the elections was, the presidential election was nullified. So right now in your team for William Ruto, presidential campaign team, are you certain that this particular time the elections will be free and fair? And are you sure that the IEBC team is ready to conduct a free and fair election compared to that one of 2017 and 2013?
The election of 2017 was very free and fair. What went wrong is that the IEBC refused to comply with the law about how the presidential election was conducted. The law was very clear, affirmed by the Maina-Kiai ruling in the High Court, that the presidential election is conducted at the constituency. That means the results of the polling station are final. They are tallied at the constituency, and the chairman of the commission, who is the returning officer of the presidential election, would only be receiving 290 results and adding them up and calling the presidential election. Instead, they decided to have a system where they were transmitting elections from polling stations. So instead of us receiving 290 results in Nairobi, we were receiving 45,000 numbers coming through a computer system with no capacity for tracking that. It was very untransparent, because the Constitution says that the election should be simple, clear, transparent. The way that data was coming through, anybody who watched it, you could not call that transparency. It kept going off. You don't know where it was passing. You don't know what was happening to it there. And the election was annulled on process. So it was not possible for that election, I mean, the court, complying with the constitution, said it did not follow the process now. The IEBC has been categorical this time that they don't want to reinstate that way. Because if they do it that way again, it will be annulled because the president. So they have said the election, the polling result at the polling station for the presidential election will be final. 2, the tallying will be held at the constituency. And therefore, this time, the Election Commission is saying it will receive 290 results. I believe, and we believe in our team, that it is very difficult to read that kind of election. Especially today, when the penetration of smartphones is so high that in every polling station you will actually have a digital record of the announcement of the results, and if when the results are posted on the door, you will be able to have photographs of that. And that was the purpose of that study. So, but if somebody decides to play hanky-panky and decide that they will do another thing which does not comply, obviously it will become very clear that the election is being subverted. And that again will be a matter for the courts to decide. But we believe that if that is complied with, the results at the polling station are final, and that the tallying is at the constituency in the presence of the media. It's not difficult to put media in 290 constituencies. If you recall, after the election was announced, our demand to the IEBC was that to confirm that the repeat election will be conducted at the constituency, and that the media will have an unfettered access, will be able to record it, will be able to transmit it on live as the results are being announced. They could not confirm that. And we say, obviously, if you're not complying with why the result was annulled, there is no reason for participating in another sham election.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Not comply with that.
Yeah, go ahead if you have not completed your explanation, Dr. Ndii. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, in 2007, you actually saw what happened, and 2013, there are probable causes. Many pundits actually put it out there that even that election was not also free and fair, plus the one you have actually said of 2017, which we saw actually the Supreme Court annul. So, Dr. Ndii, there are so many stuff which actually goes on from the constituency, from the polling stations to the National Tallying Center. So as your team, which measures have you actually put in place? Because we've seen these things actually reoccur. So do you have any measures you have put in place to ensure that nothing like monkey business will actually going to happen to your presidential candidate, and he might actually end losing? So do you have any measures you have actually put in place to ensure that everything will actually be okay from your end?
Free and fair elections are fundamental for constitutional democracy to work. Kenya is reasonably democratic for 4.5 years. And then it comes the sort of 6 months to election, and you see the kind of anxiety you have. So the one hurdle left that you have to jump, turn the corner, and become a democracy, constitutional democracy, as election. Unfortunately, it also holds everything else hostage. Everything else is held hostage. So for us, ensuring that we participate and we do we took a very, very bold decision to do something no other party has done, which is to hold primaries in 36 counties. The 12 we did not do our 4 Nyanza ones, were for us probably waste of money. And now this time they have their own system, and they told us that's what we want. Northern Kenya, we hold primaries everywhere else, and I think they have done well. So 60% of the country on 1% of IEBC's budget. And why did we do it? We could have fallen flat on our face. Because we have to create the confidence that you can actually make universal suffrage work. Yeah, if we've been able to make it work, we have very few complaints. You have seen results people are finding very surprising in terms of who came out. That's the way democracy is work. Now, the election belongs to the voters. When a vote is stolen, it's not William Ruto's vote or Raila Odinga's vote that is stolen. It's David Ndui's vote. I'm the one who voted. It is my voice which has been used. So we are go out and protect your vote. I think the system as is, saying if the votes are counted at the polling station and the presidential election is tallied at the constituency, it allows for every Kenyan to be able to escort them, protect it, own it and protect it. It's not a policy. You know, if we even if we were to win, an election was stolen and it looked like it was going to cause violence, we are very clear. We will walk away from it.
Thank you, Dr. Ndii.
As we can walk away from it. And then
Yes.
our lives will go on as usual. We are not going to get to risk peace. Of that, I can tell you.
Yeah,
about it, I think,
Kenyans. Yes, Dr. Ndii. Why I ask you that question? Yes. Dr. Ndii, why I ask you that particular question? Yeah, go ahead. Why I ask you that question is that we need peace. Kenyans need peace. Kenyans need credible election, and we don't actually want Kenyans to die, because most of the times people who suffer are the common man. Yeah? People who suffer are the mama mbogas you are actually agitating for. So we need a system which will ensure that we have a credible election. And as you have actually explained or tried to elaborate, we are pretty happy that you are trying to put some systems along the way to ensure that it will actually be credible. And if it will not be credible, you've said you will walk away from it. You know, we don't want you to elaborate more about it, but we'll definitely have to wait for that particular day and see exactly what will happen. But now let's go back and
make that point very clear.
Go ahead.
I have said,
yes,
we are clear and we are saying this. It
yes,
is not a matter of life and death.
Okay.
We don't want not death. A single death is not one for us.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii. Now let's a little bit shift our focus and talk about the economy or economics. Now there's something. Actually, it's in the public domain that you guys are agitating or promoting what we call the bottoms-up economy, or the bottom-up economy, sorry, in that sense, the bottom-up economy. So can you elaborate to Kenyans exactly as the common man to really understand this particular kind of model, which most people have actually said that maybe, I'm not pretty sure, but from the sources I've actually spoken to, they say this is a strategy or this is a model which Dr. David Ndii has actually brought forward. So can you go ahead and actually tell Kenyans what this means and how it is it actually going to help them? Dr. Ndii?
I'm a big champion of it, but it's not original. If you want to trace it to its originality in Kenyan policy, you need to go back to a paper called the Sessional Paper number 1 of 1986. On economic management and renewable growth. And in there, the thrust of that sessional paper says, it literally says that the current structure of the economy then in 1986 was such that the formal economy, the corporate economy, was so capital intensive. It could not actually create the jobs for the rapidly growing. And it gave number. It said that the amount of capital to create one job at that point was something like 320,000 pounds or something like that. Yeah. Today, I know the figure comes to about 2 million shillings per job. And essentially, if all the capital in the country was to create jobs at that rate, it's calculated by 2000, the year 2000, 6 million Kenyans would be employed. It then proceeds to say clearly most of jobs will have to be created in small enterprises, informal sector, small-scale agriculture, where and whatever that money is enough to create a job. I have been belaboring that point for 30 years. If you look at the ERS, Economic Recovery Strategy, we wrote for NAC, that was the departure point. Yeah? If you look at it now, what you're saying, we do have the figures for manufacturing sector. Our form of manufacturing, the big, large-scale manufacturing sector, the capital per worker, how much it costs to create a job, is about $10,000. It's the highest at our level of development. In India, it's about $2,000. In Bangladesh, I think it's $1,000. In most of Africa, it is between 4 and 6. Now, why is that? It is because of something we are calling state capital. The owners of capital are the ones who control policy. So they create policies that are favorable for their capital, not for labor. If you look at, I say that manufacturing only employs 300,000. Juakali manufacturing, the artisanal economy, employs 3 million. Where are they? Out in the Juakali, the sun. But the steel mills, all those big things we call Kenya's manufacturing economy, only employs 300,000 people. But they get all the incentives. Yet you can create a job in micro enterprises, a manufacturing job, for $1,000, $2,000, $100, $200. So as long as all our capital is going to that trickle-down economy, very soon you are going to have it. That's where you see goes around the continent. So I am not inventing anything new. I am saying what has been said. Why have we not done it? We have not done it because the owners of capital, of the big capitalists, have captured the state. And we are not against capitalism. We're saying that the capitalism which works is the one where capital is equitably distributed and you have a market economy which is competitive. Not one where you have cartels which create entry barriers for other investors so that they can make huge profits at the expense of creating jobs and competitiveness of the economy. I don't know whether that is academic or intellectual, but that's the crux of it. I am its biggest champions, but I'm not the originator. It's in our policy documents. The question you need to ask is, if we started writing this, recognize. In fact, you can go back to 1972 to a paper written by the ILO on employment. In fact, I have it here. You can go back to this report written by the ILO. It is called Employment, Incomes and Inequality. And it said exactly the same thing. So why haven't we done it? We haven't done it because of the self-interest of the people who control both capital and the state. And we are saying it's time for them to get out so that we can build an inclusive, competitive economy where you have inclusive prosperity.
Thank you very much. So, Dr. Ndii, your candidate has been in the government from 2013 up to date. And if he was actually agitating or promoting that the bottom-up economy, why has he not done this? Is he, is he because he's not an executive, so he wants actually to Kenyans to elevate him so that he can implement that, or what is actually happening? You know, he promised Kenyans so many things, but unfortunately, they've done very little. The
answer is incredibly simple. Because that's what he said. He's only come to understand it when he has seen what they try to do as Jubilee, investing in mega infrastructure, not working. And the first meeting we had, he had been looking for me for a long time. I had not thought it fit to go and meet him, and he complained a lot about that. That he had sought me out and I had sort of avoided him. But I remember the first conversation we had, and it went on for a very long time, was him trying to explain why it is that they thought that he will do the big infrastructure project. Then in the second term, they do the big four. That is the way to go. So he believed in what they were doing.
Okay.
And I had to mock him. We have had several discussions. Sometimes we discuss things and he asks, how come I've been in government, we have economists, how come they never told me this? So people learn. I think this assumption people have that people are born fully formed, or you go into politics fully formed. You know, the reason why people show Kibaki being very effective in a very short time is because he had spent 40 years in politics and he was a good economist. So he had seen what worked and what didn't work when he was Minister for Finance, all the way from independence. He had then had time to reflect for years when he was in opposition. And even when he came into power, he didn't do it himself. He asked us. He took a team of people and asked us to prepare the program. I remember when he came to launch it, it was at Grand Regent's Hotel. The first thing he said when we were launching the document, he told us, I haven't read this document, but I know what is in it because we've been talking about it for a long time. And the reason why I chose you people is because I know what you will put in it. I mean, because you've been in opposition for 10 years, so we'll be talking about it. Yeah? So, people make assumptions that William Ruto came into politics and with fully formed ideas about what he would do. Nobody does that. The economy is very complex. And a lot of the things you need to do are not, they're accounting to a politician. So it's a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
He's an open-minded person.
Yes.
He argues a lot, the things he believes, and you have to persuade him. But when he's persuaded, he's a very effective sort of.
But we beg to differ, Dr. Ndii, on that particular aspect that Dr. William Ruto will actually turn around the economy. But he has been in the core government of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he was the chief principal advisor to the president. You want to tell me that he was bad to do these ones? I mean, to ensure that all these are done.
I have just told you it was not on their platform.
Okay. Was it not? Okay.
It's not what their agenda was in their manifesto. This is not it. And if you go back to the records and my writings, I started telling them they are going on the wrong path in year one. And I tell him they are over borrowing for infrastructure, and this is where it's going to go. So yes, and he admits I've said he spent some time trying to explain why they thought that was the right thing to do. That was the right strategy. But they did implement what they set out to do. They borrowed a lot of money and built infrastructure. They built the SGR. Yeah, they're still building all sorts of things we don't need.
Dr.
Now
yes.
Because they've crowded out the private sector, they're trying to raise taxes, they're shutting down business. And I started telling them this. If you read all my op-eds since 2014, it's like prophecy. But it's not prophecy, it was obvious. But of course, as I'm telling you, it's not his area of expertise.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndii, for that answer. Let me also ask you this question here. It's a question on my table right now from a Kenyan who is also would love to get some good answers from your end. Do you think the Kenyan economy improved during President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto's presidency? Did the economy improve in whichever way? I mean, did it improve, or we went downhill again?
The economy is a very complex thing, and it has many dimensions. What you can say for sure is that they have, even though people say some money may have gone this way and that way, they have built infrastructure. Nobody denies them that. Everywhere people say, yes, we have new roads, we have whatever they've built. Of course, instead they built the SGR, it's there. Its viability is a different question, but there you go. So, but it's not just them. This infrastructure-led growth paradigm is something that Africa picked up from the World Bank and the AFDBs about 2010. So it's not peculiar to us. And it's taken all the African countries in that general direction. I have some work I'm doing, which I'll publish shortly, dealing with that. But that's more academic work, policy work. But so we are not alone. When you see these things, it's not just one guy. Same thing just happened to the middle-income countries in Asia. It was then turbocharged by the Chinese. So what we've done is the economy is growing, but what is growing is public investment. And it's growing at the expense of the private sector. And in Kenya, at the expense of agriculture, particularly, which has been totally crowded out, and small enterprises, which have been completely crowded out of the credit market, of the finance market. So if you ask whether the economy has improved, that dimension, there are other things which they have. There are some things in government processes which they have improved. So government does many things, but certainly the way they've gone about financing infrastructure has done quite a bit of damage to the real economy, and we need to rebalance that. And that's what we're saying. There's no point having road if you took the money that farmers use to buy fertilizer. So now you have a road, but farmers don't have money for fertilizer, so there will be nothing to transport on that road. And one of the ways you see that is now you've become a major food importer. An agricultural country is now importing 200 billion shillings worth of basic food. $2 billion. We're importing 700,000 tons of rice. We're importing $1 billion worth of oils. We're importing, a lot of it is actually coming from places like Tanzania next door, which is now running a trade surplus against us. So it's, I don't think I'm going to pass a verdict of that nature, but I certainly will say that there are some things we need to rebalance very quickly if we don't want to go belly up like Sri Lanka.
We'll have definitely to bring you in the near future so that you can actually expound more, because we can't really discuss everything today. And there, as I told our viewers earlier on, we are not actually going to be so much academic. We are not actually going to delve so much into in the intellectual arena. At least we really want Kenyans to understand you in a very simple, from a very simple vantage point of a common man. So what do you think Mudavadi and Wetangula are actually bringing in your coalition? I mean,
the most important thing, as I said, in politics is we have to make our democracy work. And that's what they're bringing. I think I was very happy when I saw Musalia and Wetangula, because we worked with them in NASA. And we worked very well. I mean, we worked incredibly. The two gentlemen, I really, really respect them as politicians. They're very mature. As I said, they are not the people who will fight. Politics is not for a matter of life and death for either of them, and I think you see that. So they've brought that, and I think together we've gelled very well. Fortunately for me, they're good personal friends as well. And I think they're working very well with the larger team. Many of the teams are people we've worked with. And many other people. I mean, there are lots of Kenyans, including politicians, I think, who share that conviction that we should be able to make democracy work in this country. And I think that is what our political fault line is going to be in the future, and for quite a while. Those of us who believe in the Constitution of Kenya, constitutional democracy, as in Constitution of Kenya 2010, and pushing ahead and going forward with democracy. And those who have their eyes on the rear view mirror, you hear them saying all the time, oh, we fought, we should be rewarded. Oh, you know, our grandfather, this and that. You know, I think that's really emerging as our conservative sort of wing of I think it's a good thing because there's a lot of clarity now. The progressive agenda and the status quo agenda. And so we welcome everybody who comes aboard and wants to strengthen the progressive agenda.
What role do you think the diaspora will play in Dr. William Ruto's presidency if he wins in August 2022?
I am very perturbed by what I've learned when dealing with the diaspora. As you know, we have a very strong engagement with the diaspora. That diaspora sees itself as almost like a foreign country engaging another foreign country. So it's like a foreign country engaging the state, and not as Kenyans who can participate fully in the affairs of their country without apology. So one of the things we've done is we thought that we can fix that by telling the diaspora, look, we are engaging Kenyans in a new conversation at the county level. We have these county conversations, we're going to sign charters with the counties, that kind of thing. So we have designated diaspora as County 48. So that with them, you are County 48, you're Kenyan. You're not a foreign entity engaging the Kenya. Secondly, we have included the diaspora as part of the party. And we have told, I remember telling the diaspora people of the party, the audience, this is not something you have to ask. Just take the party constitution and say we want to sit here and here and here and here and here. So that you sit at the table. Diaspora should sit at every political table in Kenya. That's my view. And I'm a bit perturbed that members of the diaspora don't feel that they have that right. That level of alienation, I think, is very worrying, given that you're sending us $4 billion a year, almost 3.5.
Sure.
Diaspora is now Kenya's largest foreign exchange earner, equal to the next three combined: tourism, in a good year, tea and coffee. And horticulture. And I have told the diaspora committee, who we are working with, I don't want to preempt that work, that if you take that money, the diaspora has a right to demand a reinvestment. I say, if you just take 1% of that money, which is about $40 million, and you say, we want the government to reinvest 1% of the money we send in diaspora, in our concerns, it's 1% is actually enough to meet a lot of those. We've had conversations about voting. If we put in over 5 years, we put in $2-3 million aside. By the time the election comes, we should be able to send out enough returning officers and set up the infrastructure for every diaspora member to vote. I believe so. It should be enough money to set up 5-6 consulates in the US, for example, to take care of our people who suffer in the Middle East when they are. It is not a privilege. I feel very strongly about this. That in William Ruto's government, if I have anything to do it, a percentage of the money diaspora sent will be earmarked into a fund that deals with diaspora issues.
Thank you very much, Dr. Because of time, and we actually hosting Ababu Namwamba, who is one of your team members, and his team is going to host him in a few minutes. So we'll definitely have to almost wind up, but there is a question here we also need you to tell Kenyans. What really happened in central Kenya that people never actually turned up to vote for their favorite candidates? Why did we have a very low voter turnout, and what was actually happening? And what happened that we also saw so many cases of fraud or malpractices across the UDA primaries across the country. What was really happening there?
You should be careful not listening to the propaganda of our opponents. The UDA primaries have gone very well. There are very few complaints. So do check the proper records. Also, every election has sore losers. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, but I hope you can hear me.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Now,
you can hear me?
The other thing is...
Go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
As far as the question of low turnout is being addressed,
yes.
Check the numbers. I just was looking at Kirinyaga, for example, where you see there's low turnout, and I saw that 90,000 people voted for the women. Now that's about a quarter of registered voters. That's what you would get in a by-election. In many of these by-nominations, there were very low stakes. People actually, what people don't know is that you really have to mobilize your supporters to go to a nomination. People have other things to do. It is not the same as a president and a general election. But if you look at the pattern, you will see where there were no fierce contests is where you had low turnout. Because people have decided which party. I think the people in Mount Kenya have decided that they will vote for UDA candidates. They are a bit indifferent as to which candidate. So they have said, let the few people, whatever, sort of decide which one it is. And but there are quite, where there were fierce contests, the numbers are actually as high as you've had in that place. So check the facts. I think there's a lot of propaganda from our opponents. And of course, complaints by sore losers. People don't always accept it. Yeah, so you always check out election. People would say about complaints with a bit of sort of, you read it from that lens. I've seen people saying that they were rigged out, and then I check and you see they lost in every single polling station by, sort of 20-30%. So rigging doesn't work like that. You don't see a
Yeah. We can actually counter check that one and see exactly what is happening. Yeah, we basically, like, when people are complaining in Bomet and that young lady, actually a 24-year-old, managed to trounce a serious politician, people across the country were really worried and said, wow, this is amazing, this is good. But the unfortunate fact is that some of the big wigs, some of the close confidants of the deputy president, people who have actually been ensuring that is warm, were trounced. What is happening? What's happening, Dr. Ndii, there? Hello, Dr. Ndii, did we lose you?
End the show.
Dr. Ndii, did we lose you? Okay. Thank you. Okay, we lost. Okay, Dr. Ndii, you are back. Thank you very much.
You're back.
Well, yeah, you're back. Yeah. Did you hear my questions?
No, I didn't.
Hello, Dr. Ndii. Thank you very much, viewers, for having time to watch us interview Dr. Ndii. We promise that we'll be bringing him back. He's having some technical difficulties from his end, but we promise you that we'll definitely have to bring him back. And right now, we are going to usher in the UDA Diaspora team, who are going to host Honorable Babu Namwamba. So in a few minutes, we'll let the team host him, led by the UDA chairman, Minnesota, Bwana Sam Ireri. So in a few minutes, we'll let them start their program. So be ready as we usher in Babu Namwamba and the UDA Diaspora team, led by brother or Mr. Sam Ireri from Minnesota. Thank you very much.